What's up, YouTube? So, I want to talk about this Jesse Williams situation that happened a little while ago. And I know I'm late on this, my bad. And I know y'all probably have, moved on to the next colorism debacle, like the Prince family, which I also did a video on. So, go check that out too if you want my opinion on that whole situation there. But in this video, I'm going to talk about the Jesse Williams interview, particularly the colorism part of his interview that he did on the Sway in the Morning radio show. All right. So let me give a disclaimer before I begin. All right. I have no beef with Jesse Williams. Okay. Nor do I have a beef with biracial or mixed people in general. All right. I do agree with his views on colorism that he expressed on Sway in the Morning show, more or less for the most part. Nevertheless, I gotta sound off on a few things. All right. First thing first, tread lightly, Jesse Williams. Tread very lightly and very carefully, because you could possibly be setting yourself up for a big L. All right. Jesse, my beige brethren, if you gonna be black, then you gotta be black in all weather conditions. No matter if it's partly cloudy with a gentle breeze or a Category 5 hurricane. Like, you gotta be black no matter what. Like, no matter the weather. All right. No matter the situation, this, that, and the third. All right. And I know some of you are probably thinking, well, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And where I'm coming from with this comment is this. All right. When that whole cheating scandal / rumor, I suppose this is still allegedly, but when that whole situation happened, some black people were giving Jesse Williams a pass for possibly cheating on his then wife, with Mika Kelly, who is white, right? But Jesse Williams says that he is a black man, right? And if he's a black man, then he should be held to the standard that we would hold a black man to if he did this, right? Really, he would have been called out from, his wife, from his, light-skinned mixed biracial wife, right? And by the way, I have seen pictures of her where she actually does look, a lot better than some of the pictures I've seen floating around of her. I think somewhere along the way, I think she may have, I don't know, maybe let herself go in some aspect or something. Perhaps she kind of got into a state of depression. I don't know. But there are, like, I think in the earlier phase of their relationship, she kind of looked better. But towards the end of the phase of their relationship, that's when, her looks kind of took a nosedive, right? It kind of seemed like she just stopped caring about her looks. And that may have played a part in the divorce as well. And maybe played a part in, Jesse Williams' alleged cheating. I don't know. Rumor has it, allegedly. All right. But yeah, some people were giving Jesse Williams a pass on that because, oh, he's biracial. And I know some black people are going to say that Jesse can't help being given a pass by some black people. And it's kind of true. To an extent, you can't help being given a pass by people, just like you can't help not being given a pass by people. It just kind of sort of just happens, right? But, it seemed, I'm not sure if he really wanted to be held to the standard that a monoracial, unambiguous, brown skinned, dark skinned black man would be held to. I don't think he was really fighting for that, right? you know, and like I said before, if he was truly held to that standard, then he would have been called out from the time he did that whole BET speech and the way that his wife looks, right? And I'm not saying that, biracial folks can't be with biracial folks, mixed folks can't be with mixed folks, light skinned folks can't be with light skinned folks. Mix it up, stir it up, this, that, and the third, right? I'm not saying that, but, I just, kind of want to put this out here. Like, it's kind of like, well, if you want folks to consider you black, right, then wouldn't the part of the consideration being held to the standard that a black man would be held to, right? Just, putting that out there. Um, I didn't hear him advocating for that, though, to be held to that sort of a standard, though, right? But, some black women were, holding him to a standard and was canceling him because they was like, nah, we ain't fucking with that. Nah, you know, we gave you the black king crown. Now we snatching it back. You ain't a black king no more, right? Because, they, even though the woman was biracial, I think sometimes when things happen to like biracial folk and mixed folk and even just light skinned folk, I think sometimes the situation hits home even stronger in some cases. Like, oh, kind of like if you see like a light skinned mixed biracial person experiencing like anti-blackness, it's like, okay, well, if you ain't gonna want to deal with them and they're, partially non-black, then I know you ain't gonna want to deal with my full black ass, right? So I think sometimes in some situations, and I think this is one of those situations where black women were like, well, she's mixed, but she, it kind of felt like, okay, to an extent, they could see like, oh, perhaps, blackness played a part in it, Well, I'm not really explaining that. I could explain it a little bit better, but I think it's like, oh, well, if he would do that to the biracial mixed chick, then what would he do to the brown skin, dark skin black woman, right? I think it's something along those lines. It's like, it really makes you open your eyes a lot more. And also some people were saying like, oh, she was the come up woman for him. She was his come up woman. And I don't know. I guess perhaps that is true. I don't think he just ditched her because he, got on, quote unquote. I think, like I said, the whole look situation may have had something to do with her letting herself go. That may have had something to do with it. Again, perhaps she may have been suffering from some form of depression, or something, or has some sort of a, mental issue going on. Not to say that, she looks crazy, but, sometimes when you have things going on, mentally, sometimes you kind of neglect certain aspects of your life, if you get what I'm saying, right? But let's move on to the next. All right. So this is another thing I want to bring up, and this isn't so much about Jesse Williams as it is more so about Jesse Williams' father. All right, because I think Jesse Williams more or less has said like his father is like, quote unquote, pro-black man, pro-black, right? But I'm like, okay, your father is pro-black, supposedly, pro-black man, but you mix though. That don't seem to completely add up for me though. And I've heard this a couple of times. Honestly, like Nick Cannon does said some bullshit like this about being pro-black, but look at the woman he had his kids with and how his kids look, right? Ebro from Ebro in the Morning also has said that his father was pro-black too. But again, look at Ebro. No shade to Ebro or Jesse Williams or even Nick Cannon, but it's just like pro-black. I don't. It's for me. It's like I find it really funny that a lot of black men's pro-blackness skips over unambiguous, monoracial, brown skin, dark skin, black women. I find that to be very suspect. You know, if you were really pro-black, shouldn't that be where you would begin? Shouldn't that be honestly probably should be the beginning, middle, and end for you, but at least where you begin at. Yeah. Um, Mixed slash biracial pro-black people with pro-black parents confuse me because it's such an oxymoron. Or, perhaps it's a paradox. One or the other. Um, Jesse said that his father made him listen to Malcolm X tapes and Public Enemy. And probably some other, quote unquote pro-black stuff, right? Jesse wants to be pro-black, and he said that his father, says like, basically, if it ain't about, helping black people, his dad ain't impressed. You know, and I will say, this is like, I guess, a better alternative than perhaps a black person passing along anti-blackness to their biracial mixed children. I do think, this is the lesser of two evils, but again, it's just like, it kind of irks me personally. As well, I can understand it irking, black women because this is like really? Honestly, it's like, well, where does the black woman fit into all this pro-black stuff? That is the question. Because we're talking about pro-black, and is pro-black people, as in black man and black woman, or just pro-black men? Because black men can represent black people. Black women cannot represent black people. Black women tend to represent black women, while black men tend to represent both black men and black people. I know that may have went over your heads, but think about that a little bit. That really is, it's really like that. All right. So again, Jesse said that his father really kind of, made him listen to Malcolm X tapes, Public Enemy, very much about the pro-black life, quote unquote, right? And I know it's like, sometimes some parents, especially these like, the men, the black men who engage in this, because it's more so them, to be honest, they like to push this pro-black stuff onto their kids, So it's like, what do you want your kids to do when it comes to procreation and relationships? Would you want your children to procreate with someone who is more reflective of their mother, or someone who is more reflective of blackness? Or is it just, who gives a fuck? Who cares? You know. But if you're pushing on this pro-black stuff on your kid, then well, you might as well push that, hey, you should be with a black woman, a brown skin, dark skin, monoracial black woman. But I for some reason, I don't really see that being pushed on the kids, especially the sons. I think they might push, the daughters being with unambiguous monoracial black men. I think they'll push that. Because then again, if these dudes has, so much, revere and, admiration or, concern for the black woman, you know, they probably would be with a black woman. Uh, uh. But nevertheless, this is a factor that gets overlooked. Black parents pushing blackness on their mixed slash biracial child. And I think sometimes some parents may do that to sort of like try and like have their children like quote unquote clean up their mess sometimes. Like, oh, they went outside of the community, but no, the children, no, you got to be pro-black with it. No, no, right? You got to help daddy clean up this mess he made. Right? And maybe he may have gotten woke, at some point after this whole situation. Perhaps, but it's still a little suspect, right? Because on one hand, like these dudes want to fight against white supremacy, but on the other hand, they adhere to it. Like on one aspect, it's kind of like you're kind of like trying to pick certain aspects of white supremacy to fight against, but then you want to keep certain aspects of white supremacy too that you maybe low key like, Like sometimes it's kind of like, oh, it's the part that they like. You know how some folks like colorism. They don't want to speak on colorism, but they'll speak all day about racism, right? That part. When black men's pro-blackness, as I've mentioned already, but when black men's pro-blackness skips over black women, it's hella suspect to me. All right. And I think Jesse Williams may be doing this to low-key help, kind of getting back into the good graces of like the brown skin, dark skin, black queens. Because, Jesse Williams, he's smart enough to know that, if you ain't got the black queens behind you, you ain't got shit. So, Jesse Williams, he wants to get the black queens back on his side, and he's also dating like a brown skin, like weather girl or something like that. I forget her name, something Taylor something. But she, brown skin, good looking, probably helping him get his black pass back. And also, the community loves a beige fight the power nigga. I think that's kind of like, a thing that kind of goes over people's heads too. But I think sometimes that happens, Sometimes these dudes, these beige Negroes, go the fight the power route for, a quote unquote a black pass or they black card, you know. And honestly, on some level, I don't even think the community really fucks with any light skinned dudes who are not fight the power Negroes. Like if you fight the power beige Negro, then I think, folks, they'll fuck with you, because it's like, for the brown skin, dark skin brothers, it's like, okay, he doing what the work that they should be doing. He's, doing their dirty work, doing their heavy lifting. So it's like, okay, right. And then once you get them to follow suit with you, then, the light skin and dark skin chicks gonna follow right behind what the brown skin, dark skin brothers do, got to say, So, I'm not, being shady or trying to hate, but I'm just saying that's just what's playing out here. All right. So, I guess I can speak a little bit on what Jesse Williams actually said in the interview about colorism. But like I said, I agree with what he said. So it's not like I'm saying like, oh, that's wrong. But I do think that maybe he may have low-key did somewhat of a disservice to his fellow mixed biracial people by kind of like downplaying to an extent their experiences within the community, you know. But you know, on the other hand, sometimes it can be a bit like, well, okay, like when he said the whole light skinned girls, dark skinned girls documentary thing. I kind of do agree with him on that, because it's like dark skinned girls came out and told their story about colorism, and then was it really necessary to have a rebuttal from light skinned girls? It's not that, light skinned girls don't have their issues, because they do, but the way that it was set up was that it was like almost like a straight reply or answer to dark girls. And I feel like you could have both, but just don't connect them and try to equalize them. That's the thing. Because I think they're not equal, you know? So it's okay that it's not okay, but it's like, that's just the situation. It's not equal. So we shouldn't pretend that it's just, you know, colorism is just even across the board, because it's not. Instead, the light-skinned girls should have just perhaps had their own series, even a whole different name, like, the struggle of lightness or something. I don't know. But have their own separate situation, completely separate from, dark-skinned girls, um, where they could speak on their issues. And also, it's like, well, what you're speaking about versus what the dark skinned girls are speaking about, it's like, well, which problem is worse? Yeah, like, I think the dark skinned girl's problem is probably worse than the light skinned girl's problem, you know. And it's nothing like hearing a privileged person complain about their privilege. It's like hearing a white person complain about, the struggles that they have for being white. It's like, really? Come on, like, hey, stop it. Come on. All right. Honestly, if these light girls had to walk a day in like some of the dark skinned women's shoes, I don't know if they could take it. I mean, even on like my channel, when I, say the things that I say about light skinned girls, they kind of can't really, it's, it's like, I don't know, it's weird. They just, have like a strong reaction. And I know you'll probably say like, well, you'll have a strong reaction when someone says something bad about you. Well, yeah, but I feel like the dark skinned girls, as fucked up as this is going to sound, I think that they're used to it. So the light skinned girls, they ain't used to that, because they don't really go through that aspect when it comes to colorism. But the dark skinned girls, they do. Again, it's fucked up that it's like normalized that, someone would say something like very disparaging, and it's just about dark skinned girls, and it's just like, it's like, what a surprise. Like, it's not really a surprise. But if someone said that about light skinned girls, it would be a surprise. Like if we had a slew, like a whole, I say maybe like, how about 4 or 5 prominent black male celebrities say some foul shit about light skinned women, I know they would flip out. They would flip out and lose their damn minds, all right? Because they ain't used to that type of treatment, right? So let's not act like it's all even Steven, equal across the board, because it's not, all right? But I'm going to bring this video to a close. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.